Most watch boxes have some kind of pillow or something else that you wrap the watch around. And the problem with that is that I'm just too lazy to use it. So I want to make something that's quick and easy to use, so let's start prototyping. So I have just made this cardboard box just to try to get the measurements right. I want to make this a 4-watch storage box. That's the amount of watches I normally go through using. I think the size of this is pretty good, so I'll just head to the computer to draw it up. So I think I might have a solution here. Well, it means I have to 3D print the bottom part because it's going to be too hard to make it out of wood. At first I thought about doing a solution where you attach the watch to this piece and you just lower it into the box and it'll probably stay in place, but not that good. And also it doesn't remove the issue of having to take the watch off and strap it around something else. So this goes to the bin. What I've made now instead is a box with 4 compartments and like a bridge between the compartments, which means you should potentially just hang the watch on top of there. So I'll just go ahead and print it and we can take it from there. So I really wanted to print this bridge without supports because it would be a nightmare removing the supports. So I made small pillars with a 45-degree base because the 3D printer can print at 45 degrees without supports. The only problem now is that those pillars are kind of getting in the way of the strap. So I need to remove the pillars and have the 45-degree base attached to the compartment sides instead. Also, the watch doesn't stay in place on top of the bridge, so I need to figure that out. So one idea would be adding a magnet to the bridge, I guess. So I'll do some redesigning so that we can print a new version. And I guess when it is printing, I can go ahead and start making the lid. So the way I imagine the lid opening is that it's like swivels around, and that's why I inserted this brass rod on the bottom. And I also added a couple of small magnets so that when the lid rotates around, it kind of stays open or closed. In theory, at least. And the only issue with this is that the rod needs to be in the exact position. Otherwise, it won't be a perfect match when it's closed. So I used a 3D printer and I made a jig for drilling the holes that you saw me using. And on top I made a watch that I drew up in Illustrator, and then I carved it with the X-Carve, and then I just filled it with some copper epoxy. I'm not totally pleased with epoxy. It doesn't really have that shine that I wanted, but it's good enough. And I have my 3D printed box, so let's just go ahead and add some magnets and put it together. So there we have it. There are some issues with it still. One of them is that it's perfect to use with digital watches, since I have the magnets down here, but not with regular watches, because magnets and regular watches don't go good together, because it will affect the timekeeping, and that's a pretty important function of the watch. You can still use regular watches, of course, but you should probably turn them off before putting them down. The swiveling function works really good. The magnets keep it in place if it's open or closed, which is really good. And I think it looks nice, but the copper inlay I wasn't too pleased with. And I'm also considering making it just a tad bigger. So I think I might... You know what? Hang on. Now that's more like it. I don't think I'm totally done with this project. I mean, storing watches seems to be pretty hard. The use of magnets is great. I mean, it works perfectly with the digital watches, of course. I don't know, maybe pillows are even better. But it just takes too much time, doesn't it? Anyway, I really enjoy the look of it. The way the plastic contrasts the lid, and also how the epoxy looks now with the gold instead of the copper. Now, if you want to make one of these, I'll upload the files to Thingiverse so that you can download them yourself. And if you have any suggestions on how to make it even better, let me know in the comments down below. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. I don't know, maybe pillars? Pillars? I decided to 3D print the bottom of the part. I think I have something else that you just... Most watch boxes have some kind of